Kozak. Step forward, please.
Everett Reed spotted Barbara Kozak after she was escorted from a casino in Palm Springs. A relationship blossomed, but wilted, he says, when she skipped from a Las Vegas hotel room with his luggage.
Order. All rise. Judges number 52 on the calendar, the matter of Reed versus Kozak. The parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
I've been a judge for a long time, and I thought I heard it all. And then I read these papers, and I was wrong. You're suing this lady for stealing a bag that contained your clothes from a motel room that you were sharing together on some sort of an odyssey that I don't quite understand. So I'd like you to take it from the top and tell me how you met and how you ended up in a motel room together. And then we're going to get to your countersuit, because you're countersuing him for wasting your time.
Yes.
Wonderful. Bert?
Order. Order.
Your Honor, sometime in August of this year, I observed the defendants coming out of a casino in Palm Springs, being escorted out by the security officers, very inebriated and giving them all a bad time. An hour or so later, I'm driving on Palm Canyon, Main Street, and she's walking in the middle of the street, totally out of it. So I suggested to her that I give her a ride because the police will be along soon to take her to jail if she doesn't get out of the middle of the street. She accepted and talked civilly, and I gave her my phone number since she didn't. So the next day she called me and asked me if I would drive her in my own car to shopping. And I said, fine. I drove her shopping, and I observed she was paying with food stamps, which kind of puzzled me a little bit. But at any rate, she wanted to go to COD to register. That's the college out there.
Let's get to this motel room.
You want to get to that motel room?
Well, you know, I have other cases to do today.
All right. I went on vacation, came back in 2 weeks. I called her and how she was doing. At any rate, I said, I have to go to Las Vegas on business. She said, good. I was driving up there while you were gone, and my car broke down in Baker someplace, and I need to arrange to get it towed back. So I said, fine. This same thing happened to me many years ago. So I started driving her to Las Vegas, and she started telling me which roads to take, and trying to control me. And so we finally got into Barstow. I stopped for gas, and she came out. I'm paying the clerk, and he said, will you pay for the lady's food or whatever she stole from me? And I said, oh, boy. At any rate, I pitched up a hitchhiker to keep me company, and I drove on into Jean, Nevada. At Jean, Nevada, I noticed she didn't want to have breakfast.
Order.
And then she was telling me at this place she had 2 brothers killed. And I'm beginning to think that I might be here with the wrong party. Anyway, get on Las Vegas. She wanted to control me. Yes.
Mr. Reed, let me ask you this question.
I thought you wanted the whole story.
I'm going to get the whole story. I know I'm going to get the whole story. But you've just said that you were in the car and she told you about her 2 brothers who were killed in this little town.
Yeah.
And you figured at that time that you may be in a car with the wrong person. I don't understand why. According to you, you saw this lady being evicted from a casino by security guards.
Right.
An hour later, you saw her, according to you, inebriated, walking in the middle of the road. So you decided to give her a ride.
Right.
Then you gave her your card so she could call you.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I do workshops in psychology, and I work with people. Nothing is exactly strange to me, so
Okay.
So I just accepted it for what
Fine.
it is.
So you're on your way to Vegas. You pick up the hitchhiker because you want some company. Something that most normal people wouldn't do, picking up the hitchhiker. So now you have 2 people that you met on the road.
Right.
You have the defendant according to you, and you have the hitchhiker in the car according
Right.
to you. Terrific. Let's proceed.
He was going to Jean, Nevada, which is 100 miles short of our destination. In Las Vegas, the defendant wanted to tell me where to go, where to stay, and I had no arrangements whatsoever. My intentions are purely to go there for business. I had a sister there that I wanted to communicate with. We arrived there, and I was paying with the Stardust Towers. She saw that I gave them a credit card, and they rejected it. I'd just been on vacation, insufficient funds, and I saw her face drop, so I paid them in cash. And so, at any rate, we got a double room, and she stayed in one, and I stayed the other. I immediately went to sleep. I was tired. The next day, I took care of my business, and then I told her I'm returning to Palm Springs at noon. I'm checking out. I left my bag here, and I went out to take care of, finish up some business. So when I came back, she was gone. My bag was gone.
And what was in your bag?
My bag, I had a lot of vitamins, supplements, nutritional things. I had sales kits. I got a brand new pair of shoes, walking shoes, the best there is. I had my own clothes, a Walkman radio. That was about it.
Okay. Ms. Kosak, how did you meet him?
I was leaving a casino one evening, the one and only casino that we have in Palm Springs, and I was walking because my car had been out of commission, and the buses stopped running at 9 o'clock in Palm Springs. You have no choice but to walk. So you would roll up the sidewalk. This guy comes by in his taxi cab and asks me if I want to ride. I said,
so
I
what
don't.
Kind of he drives a taxi cab?
A taxi cab.
I thought you were in the vitamin business.
I am.
He drives
Are you a taxi driver or
One
vitamin?
day a week.
1 day a week?
I drive a cab.
Okay.
I did.
And he said I said, well, I spent all my money in the casino just now. I spent all the money that I had in the casino, and I don't have the money to pay you for your cab, but if you will drive me home, I will give you the money tomorrow morning. He said, fine, I will. And at that point, I gave him my telephone number, and naturally, he knew where I lived because he dropped me off at my house. The first thing, punctually, early, 8 o'clock in the morning, he called for his $10. I told him to please come over and pick it up. He did. I handed him his $10.
Did she give you the $10, sir? Does that sound familiar? Just a second. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a different version of this story right then and right there.
Judge Judy will be right back.
Well, I don't understand why you thought she was a Meshuggah, sir, just because she was telling you where to go and what road to take. Then
ridiculous.
What's ridiculous about that? That's what women do. That women direct their husbands what road to take. Because if women didn't direct their husbands what road to take, they would take the wrong road.
All right.
Everett Reed spotted Barbara Kozak after she was escorted from a casino in Palm Springs. A relationship blossomed, but wilted, he says, when she skipped from a Las Vegas hotel room with his luggage.
Go ahead, Ms. Kozak.
Then I had to have my car repaired, and it was quite extensive repairs. He kept calling my house and kept calling and asking me, did I need rides? Did I need this? Did I need that? I happen to have a terrible cold, and I really am alone there. And so I said, well, you could take me to the pharmacy to get some prescriptions, over-the-counter prescriptions, which I did, and which he did. And he said he didn't ask me for any money that day. He said that was good, free gratis, that he would just give me a ride to the pharmacy to get.
You think he liked you?
I have the vaguest idea what he is. I don't know if he's fishing or fowl. I don't know his sexual orientation whatsoever.
Okay, well, it was kind of unusual for a cab driver to come over and take you gratis to get.
Well, he didn't come over in his cab. He came over in his old car.
Came over in his car to take you
And he told me his name was Mike Reed, Your Honor. And he kept calling me and coming over like he wanted to be, like he was a long-lost friend or something. If it wasn't 120 degrees in the heat out there in Palm Springs in the summertime, and I had double pneumonia, and I was sick as a dog, and I was completely incapacitated because my car was being repaired, I wouldn't have given him the time of day. However, after all that time, I'd like to offer into evidence that his real name and the name that he registered into that hotel in the Stardust, not a motel, but a hotel, was Everett Reed, which was absolutely, totally unbeknownst to me.
Had you ever gone out during these 3 months? Had you ever gone out to dinner with him?
No, never,
to a movie?
but he came to my house for dinner. The night he called me, and my car had been repaired.
So you decided to go with him to Las Vegas, and
then he called me the next day when 2 days later, he called me and said, oh, I have a vacation. I have nothing to do. I would love to go to Palm Springs. Would you like to go to Palm Springs with me? And maybe possibly you can have your car towed into Palm Springs because it's 103 miles to Baker opposed to 200 miles and $600 tow back to Palm Springs. I said, well, possibly, maybe. He said, well, and you shouldn't go in the daytime. You should go at night. And and I would be happy to take you, and I have no vacation, and I needed a vacation, and I need a companion.
So what happened?
And so I said, well, all right. I invited him over for dinner. And he came over for dinner and ate a 3-course dinner, including wine, coffee, dessert, cake, pie, everything. Ate the whole meal to the max. And then he said he wanted to crash out until 3 o'clock in the morning where it was cool to drive so that he could drive into Las Vegas. So I let him crash out on my couch after eating this tremendous meal that he devoured like a pig.
Judge Judy will be right back.
Well, I don't understand why you thought she was a misogynist, sir, just because she was telling you where to go and what road to take.
Ridiculous.
What's ridiculous about that? That's what women do. That women direct their husbands what road to take. Because if women didn't direct their husbands what road to take, they would take the wrong road.
All right.
Everett Reed spotted Barbara Kozak after she was escorted from a casino in Palm Springs. A relationship blossomed, but wilted, he says, when she skipped from a Las Vegas hotel room with his luggage.
Let's get to what happened
Then
with the
I got up, Your
Stardust.
Honor, at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I venture to say I told him, but at the dinner table, I told him, I said, look, let me make this perfectly clear. I said, I have no money. My car is stalled out there. I'm waiting for a check. I'm to receive a certain check in a matter of time. I'm waiting for that check to arrive, and with that, I will take care of my car. But let me make it perfectly clear to you, Mike Reed, Everett Freed, whatever, or whoever he thinks he is. Let me make it perfectly clear. I don't have the funds. I don't have the money for expenses, for hotels, for anything in Las Vegas, let alone my car.
Would you tell me what happened when you got there? But you got in the car and you went there with him.
The man picked up a hitchhiker. I was sleeping. I fell asleep in the back seat. I felt very uncomfortable. I don't know if he was what was his game plan with me, whether he was going to use the hitchhiker, maybe try to rob me. I don't know what his game plan was. I don't know why he invited me, because he never said 2 words to me all the time we went into Vegas. Then when he got fine, then he stopped at my car and laughed and joked with the hitchhiker about my car being stalled out, and like I was a bimbo and I was an idiot and I was some dumb blonde and he was some genius, and I don't know what he was doing with the hitchhiker.
You got to the Stardust.
Okay.
What happened at the Stardust?
At the Stardust, he went up to register.
Registered with a different name.
He registered.
You got
with
into a
different
room.
name. We got into the room and he left. I said, would you like to have breakfast? He still hasn't said 2 words to me. He hasn't even asked, would I like a cup of coffee? He hasn't said 2 words to me. All of a sudden, as soon as he got me in that car and got out on the desert, his whole personality, his whole being changed.
He left the Stardust and went out, and you're in the hotel room.
I was in the room, and he just took off. I said, would you
what
like to have breakfast? He took off.
What happened?
I didn't see him. I fell asleep. I fell asleep. I got up, I showered, I dressed, I went out to eat. When I came back, he was there. I said, look, what is it going to be with you? I said, what is it with you? What are you doing here? What did you invite me here for? What do you have in mind here? He wouldn't talk. I don't owe you anything. I said, excuse me. I said, what do you want to do? Do you want to, he said, I want to go home. I said, well, why did you bother to even invite me here? I said, what was the principle of this? What was the idea? I thought you wanted to see a show. I thought you wanted to have dinner. I thought you wanted a companion to go to see a show and go to dinner here with you. I thought you invited me.
So who left?
So
what did you do? Come on.
I believe he left again to go eat, probably, because he never invited me for a hot dog, Your Honor.
And then you left.
Never invited me for a hot dog.
Okay.
Well, then I went out, sure, and I had some pin money on me, and I ate myself, and
then what did you do?
Then I came back. I had a card to get in and out of the room. This is before I even knew his name or what his story was. I came in. I went to sleep. I got up in the morning. He was gone again. He never invited me for a hot dog or a cup of coffee.
All right, no hot dogs, no cup of coffee.
So then I got dressed and I showered. I got dressed. I went out again to had breakfast.
Did you
when
take
I
his
called
bag?
the telephone, I called on the telephone, Your Honor, and this is when I found out that there's no such a person as Mike Reed registered in this room. We don't have any such a person in this room. Then I got scared. I really got scared. I had my stuff up there, and maybe they rented it to another person.
So what did
I don't know.
So what did you do?
So I went up, I got my stuff, and I left. And I went to the pawn shop, Your Honor. I like to offer in evidence my pawn ticket for the day. I took my ring off my finger. I got on a bus. I got my suitcases. I went to the pawn shop. I hocked my ring. I got the money for my ring, and I got a Greyhound bus, Your Honor, and I went home.
You have any proof that she took your bag?
I don't know, Your Honor, what
Well, I
happened
don't
to
know
the
either.
bag. All the maid said that she left with a man with the bag. So
Don't
she
tell me
said
what
she
the
was
maid
going.
said, sir. I don't take hearsay
all
from a
right.
maid.
At any rate, I checked the hotel every which way. And
You didn't find your bag, but you have no proof that she took your bag.
no, I have no proof.
All right.
But
Why did you have anything to do with each other for 3 months? What did you intend to do with this lady?
After I realized what a Michiganer we got here, I wouldn't have anything to do with her from then on. My only intention was to get away as fast as you can.
Well, I don't
That was
understand
my
why you
whole-
thought she was a Meshuggah, sir, just because she was telling you where to go and what road to take.
Ridiculous.
What's ridiculous about that? That's what women do. That women
Well,
direct their
anyway,
husbands
this
what road to
particular
take.
one, I
Because
can-
if women didn't direct their husbands what road to take, they would take the wrong road.
All right. At any rate, I got back to Los
Right?
Angeles. I called her. What happened to my bag? And all she did was come out with vulgarities like you've never heard before.
Listen to me.
Real.
Clear to me that this match was not meant to be.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Yes.
I don't know what either one of you people were planning on. I really have no idea. Mr. Reed, Mr. Freed, Mike, Everett,
Your Honor,
whatever. Listen
Your
to me.
Honor.
Listen to
Yes,
me, sir.
yes, yes.
Listen to me, sir. If I bought your scenario of how you picked her up, right, I would think that you're some kind of wacko. Now, you don't want me to think that you're some kind of wacko. Because anybody who says that they picked up somebody because she was thrown out, bounced out of a casino, and then walking in the middle of the street drunk, so we decided to pick her up and take her home and give him this car and give her a card, you know, I would say your elevator does not go to the top, sir. I would say that there's something wrong with you. Similarly, madam, I don't know where your head was when you decide to take a trip with a total stranger, not knowing who
Well,
he
I
is.
did know him 3 months. I mean, he was calling my home all summer
Yeah.
for 2-3 months.
Well, listen, calling your home for 2-3 months all summer, and you didn't go out with him. He wasn't calling to date you. You hadn't gone out on a date with him. He was just calling and sort of coming over. And then you decide to go on an overnight to Las Vegas.
Well, I had my car stalled out in Baker, and he led me
understand.
to believe, Your Honor,
that he was going to take you there.
I could.
Listen, I heard you. I have an intact mind. What I'm suggesting to you, madam, is you're old enough to know better. You're old enough to know better. So it seems to me that, sir, you have absolutely no proof that this lady took your property. And it seems to be, Miss Kozak, that if you made a misjudgment and got stranded in Vegas so you had to pawn your ring, that's your problem. It seems to me next time you'll be much more careful about the people who you get into a car with. And you, sir, will be much more careful about the people that you pick up in your car. This lawsuit and the counterclaim are dismissed. That's it.
Judge Judy returns in a moment. Mara Bush says she was promised her job back when she returned from her maternity leave. George Sikelros, the bar owner, says Tamara was too testy with the customers.
Order. All rise. Judges number 67 on the calendar in the matter of Bush versus Siqueiros.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Ms. Bush, you claim that the defendant fired you from your job as a bartender because you got pregnant.
Yes.
And, sir, you say that you fired her, but it had nothing to do with her being pregnant. It had to do with her attitude and the way she treated customers. Well, Ms. Bush, why don't you start? How long were you working for the defendant, and where were you working for him?
I worked for him for about a year, and I worked at the Olive Pit.
The Olive Pit?
Mm-hmm. And I've got a letter that he signed here stating that I was on maternity leave and that I would be returned to my job.
Well, how long did you work there before you became pregnant?
I worked there for probably about 8 months before I became pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I continued working until I was about 6 months pregnant. He told me when I started showing I would have to leave, which wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was understandable as long as I had my job returned to me. And when I was 6 months pregnant, he said, actually his wife, Linda, had called me and told me it was time for me to rest and that I could return when the baby was born. I called him back. April 19th, my baby was born. I called him 2 days later. I had kept in contact with them throughout this whole time. And I told him my baby was born. I'm ready to come back to work as soon as possible. And he told me there was no openings at the time. And I persisted calling a couple weeks later to see if any openings had been opened, and he said no.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Could I say something? This letter that she has right here, after my partner had let her go, she came to me and told me that the finance company was going to repossess her car and asked me if I would please give her a letter stating the fact that she would be returning to work. And the understanding is she knew she would not be returning to work because of her attitude at work, but she asked me to sign this letter, and I did out of, that time.
Oh, that's
the letter,
a whole, just a second.
That's what the letter was for.
I would certainly like to see the letter. Miss Bush, does that have a familiar ring to it that you came in and asked your boss to sign this letter because they were going to repossess your car?
Well, what happened is they had, the car had been sold back to the dealership. I had to repurchase the car. Going through a new finance company, yes, they asked me to get a letter proving I would have a job. And I had my girlfriend, Angela Delphi, type that letter up, which George asked me to do, have it typed, and he'd bring it down, he would sign it.
Are you trying to mislead me, madam?
No.
Were you trying to mislead me when you said that you had a letter from him indicating that you would be returning to work?
No, when he's saying that, he said I was supposed to return to work. That was the agreement made when he let me go.
Well, we're going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to ask you specifically about that in a minute. But my interpretation of what you said to me was that this letter that you had was almost like a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And it was written by him to assure you that you were going to have a job when your pregnancy terminated. But that's not true, Miss Bush. You asked him to sign this letter to help you out.
No.
Because of other...
Well, okay, yes. Yes, you are right.
Of course. All right. Give this back to her. Now, I'd like to hear verbally, since that has nothing to do with this. This is not a written agreement that you had with him to come back to work. Now I'll hear again from you this oral agreement that you said that you had with him to come back to work after the baby was born.
The oral agreement, which is stated on the paper, but...
No,
okay.
it was, that paper had nothing to do with anything. It had to do with him doing you a favor.
Actually, the paper, this is why I have the paper here. The paper was a guarantee to my finance company that I would have a job, which he had guaranteed to me that I would have my job back. I called him. I would not have gone through all of this if everything is just a big made-up story.
When did they guarantee you that you would have a job when you came back?
The whole time before I even was dismissed from my job, Linda and George.
Both. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
No.
Well, who had the contact with you?
Both. I spoke to Linda, and she was very upset for having to dismiss me.
Let me hear, Linda.
Yeah, I was very upset for having to dismiss Tamara because I like Tamara, but the problem is the truth is that this is a small business. She was running off our customers. Her bad language, her rudeness to them. We had certain rules because of neighbors on our liquor license that we have to keep the music down at a certain level because we have residents around us, which she refused to do. George did not...
Had you spoken to her about that?
Yeah, many times.
Does that sound familiar to you?
I had heard something about the music one time before, yes.
What about... Are you telling me that Linda never spoke to you about problems with language?
No. I have never... I worked in this bar for a year. I'm sure I wasn't the best of friends with everybody, but my shifts were extremely well, and all of my customers I got along with great. The bar was full.
Is that why they wrote us letters leaving because of you, Tamara?
Well, I'm sure.
Did you discuss that with her?
Yes, I did.
How many employees have you had?
In the last 2 years, I've had six pregnant employees. I have never asked one of them to leave because of pregnancy. They have all left when they were ready to leave and felt like it was time for them to go. And I've always made room to hire them back if I had the space available.
It's not true, and that's illegal to say that you'd only hire them back if you had the space. in the law, my law, my rights. I'm allowed to get pregnant. I'm allowed to leave a month before the pregnancy and come back.
Where does it say, Ms. Bush, that they have to hold this job open for you if they're not satisfied with your performance?
They were satisfied with my performance. I have 2 witnesses, one that worked for George.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Tamara Bush says she was promised her job back when she returned from her maternity leave. George Sikelros, the bar owner, says Tamara was too testy with the customers.
Step up here. How are you related to this case, Angela?
Well, I had typed this letter, and I was there when he signed it. And also, I just heard him say a couple of things, like she started showing, and that when she started showing, she wasn't going to have a job anymore.
You heard her say that?
Pretty much. That's
just a
pretty
second.
much.
Just a second. Angela, you heard him say that once she started showing, she wasn't... No, try to look in my eyes, not down at your feet.
Sorry.
You heard this man say once she started showing she wasn't going to have a job anymore?
Yes, I did.
Sit down.
I worked for them for a year, and I was very good friends with Linda. I loved to pieces, and I loved working there. I liked George. He never was rude. He was never mean to me. We all got along real well. And like I said, there's lots of people that go in there. I'm sure I couldn't satisfy all the customers. My shifts were very, very good. I never was told that I was a bad bartender. George had nothing but good things to say. He gave me an excellent reference.
Where did he give you an excellent reference?
He gave me, I tried to get a job after he would not rehire me back at the Loose Moose, and he gave me an excellent reference for them.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Can I see that, please?
I don't have anything that says it. I'm sorry.
Did you give her a reference for another job?
Oh, ma'am.
Judge Judy, when Tamara left, she wasn't even showing. Tamara never really showed the whole time. She was very small. We do not require, in fact, we try to go the other way. We don't ask our employees to wear skimpy clothes. They wear clothes like, normal type of clothes. Tamara could, if the issue was we didn't want her showing, which is not the issue at all, she could have easily hid that. When Tamara left, you couldn't even tell that she was pregnant. She never got that big to begin with. And with the type of clothes that we allow the employees to wear, that was not the issue. The only reference I personally ever made to Tamara about being pregnant and being in the bar is that I was very upset one afternoon when I came in there and Tamara was drinking wine, and I told her that was an unfit thing for a pregnant woman to be doing.
That's not true.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
She's ready to rule. Stay tuned.
He's a fat pig and he's a liar, and so is she.
Listen, I've heard both of you, and I have to make certain judgments based upon my evaluation of credibility. And Ms. Bush, I will tell you that I credit the testimony of the defendant's partner, when she says that she did, in fact, discuss with you some problems that she was having with your performance at your job. I also believe her when she says that she liked you personally, and that she was sorry that you were having these problems. And I also believe that they're probably soft-hearted people and that they didn't want to do anything to hurt you. I believe that. Now, there are no guarantees in this life. This is a small business. You had a baby.
They promised me my job back.
I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that they promised you your job back. I believe, if you're referring to that letter, I don't believe that they ever said it. I believe that you tried to mislead me when you said that they promised you your job back and showed me this letter. I believe that they were being what they appeared to me to be, which is nice people. Ms. Bush, I am dismissing your lawsuit because I don't find that they discriminated against you because you were pregnant, because you had a baby, nor did they promise to keep your job for you. So there was no breach of contract. So this case is dismissed.
Excuse me, step out.
He's a fat pig and he's a liar, and so is she. It's nice to know that people can get a job and be used like that and not have their job back. It's nice to know that women don't have rights.
And now, the next case.
Party's on Ramsey versus Chemnitzer. Step forward, please.
Kelly Ramsey says her childhood sweetheart, Robert Chemnitzer, came knocking at her door 20 years and 2 marriages later. They fell in love again, but it was doomed from the start.
You two met in grade school, according to your complaint.
Yes,
is that right?
we did. Mm-hmm.
And so you've known each other for how many years?
Approximately 22.
You dated for a while when you were in high school?
I would say at the end, right.
And then went your separate ways.
Correct.
You got married a couple of times? And you have a 12-year-old daughter.
Right, correct.
I see that nice smile on your face. You must like her. Well, sometime recently, back in 1995, according to your complaint, you came knocking at her door.
94.
94. And decided to renew whatever.
Friendship at first, correct. And then it went into a relationship.
And you moved in together.
Correct.
When was that?
April of 95.
Did you say at some point after you moved in with your daughter to this condo, Mr. Chemnitzer's moods changed, he started to get abusive, and finally you moved out?
Correct.
Leaving some of your belongings?
Leaving all of my belongings except for the few that I got, a TV set, my daughter's furniture, not her furniture, her clothing, my clothing. He got everything in this case.
No, I don't have anything.
He got everything. And if he's saying otherwise, that's fine, because you did get everything.
All right,
No,
you left
I got
the
everything
things.
that was mine.
You left the things behind, and we'll
Right.
we'll get an itemized list of that in a
Thank
second. And when you went back to get the things, what happened?
The first time I went back to get things, there was an argument. He got very abusive. He choked me against the refrigerator.
No, I did not.
That was back, I have
I
it
did
right
not.
here. In September 20th, the police came out. They did a report on it, okay? And fine, we talked about it. They left. At that point, I didn't do anything, okay? Approximately right around the month of October, at the end of October, I couldn't take it any longer. There was no way that I should be able to even take it from him. I don't have to take any abuse from anybody.
What kind of abuse was it?
Mental, physical.
No, there was never any physical. She was very abusive with me.
Well,
Just as much.
I'm going to let you tell your story in a minute, okay? What kind of mental abuse?
He would state that he was always going to get his brother to interrogate me and browbeat me. I have that police report right here that states that he's saying that.
Well, the police
He also
report you
called me-
filled, listen to me. The police report you filled out, that's your complaint. That's nothing that the police saw, is that right?
No, this is the 911 call.
From you?
Right, but they heard him in the background. It states right here.
Let me see it. Go ahead. Let me hear.
Okay, as far as what type of abuse, the verbal was anywhere from you to I hate your daughter. Your daughter is a nobody. You don't treat your daughter right, which is bull. My daughter is my #1 concern. Okay, you don't do that to a person. Browbeat them down until they have nothing. Okay, he always abused me, stating that I didn't do anything around the house.
So
it was
why
to
didn't you
the
just
point.
leave immediately?
Because I'm a woman. Some women do that, and unfortunately, I'm like that. I couldn't leave.
How
I've
long
known
did
him
you
for
stay?
22 years.
How long did you stay in this abusive situation?
From approximately April down to I left October 28th because he tore down my Halloween decorations.
Okay, so you stayed in it a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Not smart. Not smart for you, not smart for your daughter.
Right.
Because I'm sure she heard all of these arguments that were going on in the house.
Right. There was also one that I had to lock her and myself in the room.
Next time you pick a mate.
I've already picked another, and he's much better.
Okay, good. Why did she move out, sir?
We both moved out together, actually. We were both there the day before we were supposed to be out there because we were being evicted.
You really think she owes you any money, sir?
Do I think she owes me any
No.
money?
I'm not talking about all the money you would like to get back for all the rent that you paid while you were together. I mean, you agreed to pay the rent for any other bills. Do you really believe that she owes you any money?
I don't think we owe each other any money.
So the answer is you don't believe she owes you any money?
No.
Fine.
I only did the countersuit because of this.
Okay. Now, let's talk about this list then of things that you say you left there.
Sure. As far as the furniture, I have the 2 receipts for what
Which
I
furniture?
left.
Just tell me what
it's
furniture.
It's my daughter's furniture. It's a dresser.
Do you have
and
her daughter's
bed.
furniture?
No, I don't.
Where is it?
He had it in his storage unit in Lake Elsinore. He said he moved to Arizona, which he didn't.
That's very complicated. Do you know where the furniture was? Was it in your storage
It was
unit?
in storage, but wasn't like Elsinore. She knows where the storage was. The
Is it
storage
still
was,
there?
No.
What happened to it?
I lost a storage garage.
So they just took it away?
Yeah.
Why didn't you give it back to her when she wanted it?
She wanted it after I already lost it. I held it for her for the time she went back to her mom's house until the time she asked for it.
Okay. How long were you at your mother's house before you asked for your furniture back?
I was asking for the furniture. Matter of fact, the police had to come out on the 23rd because we got in an argument about it. The 23rd of November is the first time that I asked.
And when did you move out?
December.
In October
We didn't move out in
28th.
October.
I moved out of October 28th. I started paying rent, and I have my witnesses here that I started paying rent November 1st.
That's correct.
She was living with you?
She came October 28th, and
Step
she's
up
been
here.
there ever since. Oh, I'm sorry.
And your name?
Fern Ramsey. I'm
Miss-
Kelly's mother.
When did your daughter move in with you?
She moved back in October the 28th, and she's been there ever since.
And when, sir, did she first ask you for the furniture?
In November.
Well, that's a very short time. You mean in a period of a couple of weeks you lost the storage? How much was the furniture worth?
Altogether, it was worth...
What did you pay for it?
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. It would be $328.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Okay, what else does he owe you for?
After we had broken up, he used a calling card, I guess that was sent over. So he committed mail fraud, first off.
Don't tell me what he committed.
Okay, and he fraudulently used it from Lake Elsinore with his phone number, calling. Okay, these are the harassment calls here to my work, harassment calls to home. He's even using it to call his girlfriend.
Listen to me, this is a card that's in your name?
That's correct.
What's the total expenditure on that card?
$310.06.
Did you use that card, sir?
I didn't use that card. That card was shut down in December of last year.
Well,
Of the
but
year
she's got all
before
those
that.
cards, all those bills. Did you show it to him?
I've seen them. She showed them to me.
All right, what else?
Okay.
What else, ma'am?
$1,745.27.
For what?
For the townhouse that we lived in. They're garnishing my wages.
Let me see what you have.
That has my name on it.
Did you owe these people at the condo where you were living
yes, I did.
$1,745?
That's right.
Did you pay them?
No, I haven't paid them yet.
That was after I left. He stayed in there until after I left.
But they're not going
Also,
after
Your
her.
Honor,
She's not even on the lease agreement. Why would they go after
Do
her?
you have... Just a second. Let me see the lease.
She didn't sign a lease.
Let
You
me
can
see.
She didn't sign a
Hey,
lease.
hey.
I did.
I have it highlighted on the second page where he signed it.
They
where
put
the
her
manager
on it.
signed
They put her on it when they filed against us.
That
and
is
she gave them
untrue.
her driver's
Just a
license.
second. Listen to me. Miss Ramsey, this lease is... I don't see your name on this lease.
She's not on the lease.
Shh. I don't know if I would live with you either.
Okay.
Your name's not on this lease,
No,
so
it
therefore
isn't.
you are not responsible for this rent. I suggest you let the landlord know that if they sue you,
Okay.
they're going to lose.
Okay.
You owe the plaintiff $638, and the judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $638. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
Judge Judy will return.
Parties on Margolis versus Ramos. Step forward, please.
Gloria Margolis met and fell for Alan Ramos and invited him to move in. She says it led to 2 broken ribs and 5 days in jail.
Order. All rise. Judge, number 10 on the calendar, the matter of Margolis versus Ramos.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Well, folks, I've read your complaint and I've read your answer. You're suing Mr. Ramos for $5,000. He's countersuing you for $5,000. That's a nice round number. However, I couldn't understand why you were suing him for $5,000, and I don't quite understand your countersuit. So why don't you tell me about it from the top? I understand you dated for a while?
Yes, we met about June of last year, and basically the relationship was platonic, and I was losing my property, and Mr. Ramos had said he was looking to get a place, and so we were thinking of rooming together. Turned out the relationship became intimate. He ended up moving into my property that I had not lost as of yet. And he had said he was going to contribute in paying equal portions and so forth, which is just something he never did. He, first of all, he deceived me from the get-go. He told me that he was divorced for 2 years. I would never be involved with a man if he was married. And he told me he was divorced for 2 years. We became intimate. He told me a lot of other things. He wanted to grow old with me, that he loved me, that just everything a woman wants to hear. And it was always every paycheck, you know, the next paycheck, he was going to help me take care of this bill or that bill because he ran up phone bills. He was there using the electricity and everything else. I was buying all the food, and of course, and I bought him clothes, and then his eldest son came and lived with us, and I wanted, of course, because I'm a mother of 2, divorced for over 11 years, and I know about children. I wanted to please his son, and so I buy him things too, clothing. I bought him all the kinds of food he liked to eat. I picked him up from school, dropped him off at school. I used to make Alan's lunch every day for him to go to work, and because I'm a very loving and giving person, and everything that he had said is like what I wanted for a relationship. I wanted to be loved, and he told me all that kind of stuff, but never followed through. And then he would always say, he's a con man, just told me, oh, don't worry, it'll in my next paycheck. And then he never had money. He would get paid and never have money. And then he would ask me if I would front him money because he had to pay his child support, or he owed his mom money, or he never had money because he had to pay his mom this, or it was always something. And I believed him. And then I lost my property, and then he decided, well, he wasn't going to get a place with me. So I rented, and I would like to show you, when I lost my property, I got something called cash for keys. And this is the paperwork. And
just tell me what that means, cash for keys.
Because they wanted me out of my property because I lost it in foreclosure. So they said, we'll give you $1,000 if you get out by such and such a date. So I said, okay, fine. So I made sure I got out in that date.
What do you do for a living?
Right now, I'm a phlebotomist, paramedical examiner. I'm also a licensed realtor, but I haven't been active ever since the earthquake. And
so how do you support yourself?
Right now, I'm unemployed. Well, I do paramedical exams, and that's about it. Department of Water and Power shipped me off over a month now. So I've been having to go to a gym to shower every day, and basically live primitively, pour water in pans to wash things and stuff. And it's like, well, he stayed in the place for the first and the last. And during that time,
how long did you live in the new house?
We went into the new house in November 7th. And he stayed with me during that time. And during that time, his behavior started to change. In the beginning, he was Mr. Wonderful and everything, and he was always promising this, promising that. We get into the new place. He signed the lease, and I have paperwork on that showing that he signed the lease, and it shows cash was put up, which I put up.
Your Honor, she's lying.
Excuse me. And then his behavior started to change. It was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and he started threatening me that he could kick me out anytime because his name is on the lease. And I said, excuse me, I put up the money. He physically abused me. He pushed me. Excuse me. He pushed me. He got irate one night because his moods changed so much. I was trying to be affectionate with him. He shoved me against the wall and said, get away from me. And then he shoved me against the door, fractured my ribs. And I was just petrified, and I didn't report it or anything because I've never had anybody in my life abuse me before, and I didn't know what was going on. And then he turned around, and then he's all affectionate again. Then he's all affectionate again and telling me how he's sorry and how he loves me. And I said, but you hit me. And he says, I didn't hit you. He said, because if I hit you, you wouldn't get up. And then just before the day before Thanksgiving, I'm sleeping in bed, and I had went to a chiropractor, and he said that my ribs are fractured. And I have a letter here from the chiropractor stating that. I was in bed. It was 4:30 in the morning. All of a sudden, police come into my room, dragged me out of bed, hog-tied me, and told me that Mr. Ramos said that I was physically abusing him. I had no idea what was going on. He stood there at the front door with a sweatshirt that he tore, and just standing there. They took me off to jail. I spent Thanksgiving in jail, could not be with my kids.
I spent 5 days of my freedom because he's a liar. And I feel he planned this. And then while I was gone, he stole personal property. He stole my camera, leather clothing, heart jewelry and stuff that my son gave me that said Mom that I wore all the time, and other jewelry and stuff and other personal possessions.
Judge Judy will be right back. Gloria Margolis met and fell for Alan Ramos and invited him to move in. She says it led to 2 broken ribs and 5 days in jail.
Miss Margolis, so then you got out of jail. Where did you go?
I got out of jail and I walked from Van Nuys jail home because I was not going to call him and he was still in the house. And I got home and found all this stuff missing. And he took the door off of my room and put it on his room. And he says, I didn't touch your stuff. I said, if you didn't touch my stuff, you had somebody in this house and somebody stole my stuff. And he says, nobody was in the house. The only people that had keys in that place was me and him.
How long did you stay home after the Thanksgiving jail stint?
I stayed there forever. What I did was I was advised to take the door back off.
Tell me what you were advised to do. Tell me how.
I locked myself in the room, essentially. I lived in my room and only came out when I had to. And if I saw him around, I would run back into the room because I was petrified of him. And I've never in my life come across such a con. He never had it.
Let's hear it from you.
Your Honor, what she said in the beginning, we did have a relationship. She asked me to move in. And under the pretenses that she was having problems paying the bills. She didn't tell me her house was going under foreclosure until I was already in there, okay? My son came down to live with us, and we were in the house, and she started getting violent, Your Honor. You know, I would give her money. It was because I wouldn't give her any more money.
No, just a second. I don't understand it. I would give her money was because...
I wouldn't give her any more money to pay the bills. She had outstanding back bills, the electricity bill. They were going to shut her off, the phone bill, and the water and power. And she had them back bills, and I was going to help her with them. I was there, and I was giving her money. I was giving her money every paycheck. I have to pay child support, so I couldn't give her my whole paycheck to pay. You know, her bills. Well, I started finding out that she wasn't paying the bills. A couple of weeks went by, and she started drinking and getting violent. When I'd come home from work, she'd be drunk, and just get violent. Well, one day, I went to a meeting. I came back, and she was drunk, and I went in my room, and she comes in my room, and she...
What kind of meeting?
An AA meeting. All right, Your Honor? I'm a recovering alcoholic. I came home.
Why would a recovering alcoholic live with somebody who had an alcohol abuse problem?
Well, she was going to meetings too, Your Honor.
Judge Judy will return in a moment.
There are certain things that you say that just don't ring true to me. If you moved in with her in November, you were in fact living in an apartment with your son. You got to pay rent.
Gloria Margolis met and fell for Alan Ramos and invited him to move in. She says it led to 2 broken ribs and 5 days in jail.
It's not that I hate her or anything. You know, I was trying to help her. She was going to meetings. All right? And,
Mr. Ramos, when you moved into this house, this was in the beginning of November?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you lived in the house until when, sir?
I lived in the house till about a week after Thanksgiving.
So you lived in the house for less than a month?
Less than a month. All right, Your Honor?
According to you?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much rent did you pay?
I didn't pay any rent because I wasn't going to stay in the house.
Just a second. Whether you were going to stay in the house or not, sir.
Well, Your Honor,
you pay rent
where
you live. I mean, you weren't paying rent anywhere else.
She paid the first month.
Listen to me. You have to pay rent someplace.
Yes.
Where were you paying rent in November?
I was living at my parents' house before I got this house.
I'm not talking about before. I'm talking about in November.
In November, I didn't have to because she paid the first month and she put down the security to cover that. I ended up moving out of there because I came home and she hit me. A police officer is not going to take somebody for abusing some, you know, she assaulted me. I had a black eye and she assaulted me. They took her to jail, not me. I wasn't the one that was going to assault her. They had to hog-tie her.
While she was in jail, where were you living?
I was staying there at the house.
Still without paying rent?
It was over Thanksgiving. I was on,
The
it was the
answer
17th.
The answer is yes. Why would you find a house that you liked for very little money and then say, well, I'm going to move. I'm going to put the lease in my name. Just listen to me. I'm going to put the lease in my name, even though I know you're irresponsible with money. You weren't using the money that I allegedly gave you, the first place we were living, to pay your bills and stuff, right? So I'm going to put the lease in my name so that I'm obligated on this lease, right? So that I'm obligated on the lease, and you're not, when you intend to move out.
Because, Your Honor, I had
Because you're a nice guy.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you're a really nice guy.
I called the owner of the house, and I told him.
I have a sense your wife would like to tell me what a nice guy you are.
That's fine.
Would you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well,
My name's Jennifer Ramos. I am married to Alan Ramos. We've been separated for 2 years, and I am here to support Gloria. She's only been with him, I don't know, say a matter of 6 months. And I know Alan's behavior, I know his personality, and I know what a con man he is. I know how he is a habitual liar. He's heartless. He will...
You have children?
I have 3 children.
Are they his children?
Yes, they are. All 3 are his children. I have a 16-year-old, a 7-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old little boy. And he pays me $500 a month child support, which he does not always pay me on time because he is an addict. He's not an alcoholic. He is a drug addict. And I have
Recovering drug addict, Your Honor.
One that backslides all the time. And I have since lost my house because of his addiction, because I couldn't support paying my mortgage payment by myself. So we lost
Your Honor,
our house.
She moved out of the house. Can I say something? She moved out of the house and found a condominium, which she got the money to pay for the condominium by my mom and dad, by my father and my mother. She borrowed the money from my parents to pay for the condominium, okay, which was $1,000.
That is correct, because
all right,
his
Your
parents
Honor,
knew.
I didn't leave the house. I stayed in the house, and I had to pay. I couldn't afford it because at that time I was disabled and I couldn't work, and I was...
What's the nature of your disability, Mr. Ramos?
I was disabled. It was from a job that I got. They had, actually, it wasn't disabled. I was on a layoff, and I couldn't find a job. We lived way out in Palmdale, and she was working.
All right, listen to me. I'm getting very tired with this story. Only because, Miss Margulies, what you want to be compensated for is deceit, emotional abuse, physical abuse, being taken advantage of, and being conned. Right?
Yes. I've supported him.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You made a big mistake. You married him and had 3 children with him.
I married him twice.
For 16
and you married
years,
him twice.
I married him twice, Your Honor.
If I was so bad, she married me for 16 years, Your
Because
Honor.
he's a good con man.
Just a second.
All right.
Just a second. Must be good at something, Mr. Ramos. However, Mr. Ramos, you and your son moved into a piece of property together. She put up $1,100 for that property. You lived there rent-free. You can't live rent-free. You're supposed to take care of your responsibilities. You were 2 people, you and your son, as opposed to Miss Margulies, right? I still haven't heard anything about your countersuit, because I don't understand your countersuit for $5,000. So I'm going to let you tell me why you're suing her for $5,000, and I want you to tell it to me fast.
She is ready to rule.
Some people make up stories so easily, they don't even know that they're making up stories. They don't even know if they're making up stories.
All right, Your Honor. She called my place of work, all right? For one, I'm suing her because she assaulted me, all right? Police took pictures, and she was thrown in jail not only once but twice. Okay, she assaulted me. She hit me on the side of the face. All right, the police took her. The other one is she was calling my workplace and telling them that I was a drug addict and you know, harassing me at work. They did not like it, so they laid me off from work. Okay, they didn't want me there, you know, because of all these problems. She was going there to the work and starting problems.
It's an outright lie.
Okay.
When was all this happening, sir?
This was in November, right after Thanksgiving.
Just a second. Does that means after she spent the 5 days in jail?
Yes. All right. I had her thrown in jail again, Your Honor, because she vandalized my room. The police aren't going to come and
Just a second. You called the police. How did she vandalize your room?
Because they took the door off my room. They went in there and threw all my clothes everywhere. Okay. They took the door off my room. They went in there and threw all my clothes everywhere. Okay, and then stuck it all in her room.
Every word that comes out of your mouth is a lie.
Miss Margulies, listen to me. Some people make up stories so easily they don't even know that they're making up stories. Now, they don't even know that they're making up stories. You don't get compensated for that. You picked a loser. You picked somebody who, you were vulnerable. You wanted somebody to love you, right? You picked the wrong guy.
Not like that.
Now, you picked the wrong guy. You laid out $1,100, is that correct?
More than that. I have the receipts for paying for the truck. I have, which was, I have receipts for everything. Documentation.
Listen to me.
Yes.
All I'm interested in is the money for the first month's rent and the month's security.
Correct. $1,100.
And you ultimately both moved out of that property?
No, she's still there.
You're still there. You're still there,
yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Ordinarily, since you both lived in the apartment during the house in the month of November, you would have to split the first month's rent, which was $550. So it would be $250. However, Mr. Ramos, she spent part of that time out of the house. She spent part of that time in jail. So, and you were living there with your son.
No, my son already had moved out of there.
And you were living there yourself.
But I had paid.
You had paid nothing.
I did, for her to move.
Listen to me. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $550. Listen to me, Miss Margulies. You got to choose your mates very carefully, right? Courts do not compensate for bad judgment. And you, sir, no job would dismiss you because somebody called and said you were a drug addict unless they gave you a drug test. And if they fired you because, according to your answer, upon that statement, you were fired, I would suggest you sue them. So your countersuit is dismissed, and you have a judgment, madam, for $550. That's it.
Boys, excuse me, step out.
Judge Judy will be right back.
Step forward, please.
Barbara Pepper's daughter wanted to see her boyfriend Robbie graduate out of state. Mom said okay if Melissa Barrett acted as chaperone. But who would pay for Melissa's trip?
Order, all rise. Judge's case number 99 on the calendar in the matter of Pepper versus Barrett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Pepper, you have a 16-year-old daughter.
Yes. Yes, this is Jamie.
What is your first name?
Melissa.
How old are you, Melissa?
18.
Your daughter had a boyfriend, according to your complaint. Is that you? The boyfriend was graduating from basic training in the Marines?
Air Force.
Air Force. And your daughter wanted to take a trip to go and watch him at his graduation?
Yes.
That was a flying trip?
Yes.
And you said to her, can't go unless you get somebody responsible to escort you, to chaperone you. You say that she got the defendant to accompany her?
Yes.
And it was your understanding that the defendant was going to pay her own way?
Yes.
Who told you that?
Jamie did.
Jamie said
Yes.
that she was going to pay her own way.
I did speak to Melissa, and she was talking about needing some help with the trip and was asking if Robbie could help with the finances, and I said that they would have to talk to him. There was never any suggestion that I would...
Well, just a minute. There was never any suggestion between you and Melissa.
Right.
Because I'm going to get to the bottom of this story. In any event, you charged on your credit cards the airline tickets.
Correct.
For the two girls.
Mm-hmm.
And you put their hotel arrangements.
Yes.
On your credit card.
Yes.
And then they went, attended the graduation. Your daughter came back, correct?
Correct.
And you say she didn't pay you for the tickets.
Correct.
First of all, there was no agreement for repayment because my mother here, she had discussed with Mrs. Pepper about the arrangements. I could not afford to take this trip, and I told her that if it wasn't...
Told who?
I told Mrs. Pepper, as well as her daughter Jamie, that I could not afford to go on this trip, and that if my plane ticket and my airline or the hotel was not paid for, that I would not be able to attend because I could not afford it. There was no...
Did you tell that, listen to me very carefully, did you tell that to Jamie?
Yes, I did.
Now, Jamie, you stand up here, please. Be very careful of what you tell me. Got it? Mm-hmm. You wanted to go to your boyfriend's graduation very badly.
Yes.
It was really important to you, right?
Yes.
And tell me what your mother said to you.
She said that I couldn't go unless I found somebody that she saw suitable to go with me.
So you brought her Melissa.
Yes.
And your mother had met Melissa in the past?
I didn't meet her until Jamie had asked her, and then she did come over and visit. She seemed to be an adult young person that was possibly suitable to go.
Yeah. I want you to be very careful about the answer to the next question. What did you tell Melissa about this trip and how it was going to get paid for?
Well, first of all, it was her boyfriend, Michael, was going to go with us, and he didn't have the money to go, and she did. And then it was there was just no way he could go because he was going to be taking a trip at a later date. So she was going to go. She was very happy to go. And she said that she hadn't been working many hours because she'd been doing other stuff. And when we came back, when she started working more hours and received another paycheck, that she'd be able to repay my mother.
Did you ever have that conversation with her?
No, I didn't.
Jamie?
Yes.
That's what you told your mother, right?
Yes.
My question to you is that really the conversation that took place with Melissa? Let me tell you why I'm asking you that question. First of all, because I've had teenage girls. And because, believe it or not, I was once a teenage girl myself. And if I wanted to go to my boyfriend's graduation very badly, and if I knew that I couldn't go to my boyfriend's graduation very badly, and I was 16 years old, I might say whatever it took to go, including telling my mother a little bit of a falsehood. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Jamie?
Yes.
But then things sometimes escalate. And you find that you can't get out of this little fib that you told. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Now, you see, because I couldn't understand when I read your papers why Melissa would incur a whole bunch of expenses for herself so that you could go to your boyfriend's graduation. Unless it was because she was doing you a favor, because otherwise you couldn't go.
Well, I was responsible for paying for my own way, and I wasn't going to have my mother pay for her way because I knew, the way my parents are, I knew in the end if I did something like that, I would end up paying the money. So I wouldn't want to get myself into a mess like that.
But you wanted to go to the graduation.
I knew that if it came down to it, my mother would go with me. She said she would go with me, so.
You didn't want your mother to go with you to the graduation. Look at me, Jamie. You didn't want your mother to go with you to the graduation. You wanted more of a contemporary to go with you.
I had other friends that could also have gone.
You never say in your papers, Mrs. Pepper, that you had a direct conversation with Melissa about repayments.
A conversation with her where she was when she asked about Robbie helping with theirs, she was saying, she wasn't saying for him to pay for the entire trip. She was asking if he could help with her and Michael's expenses. So she had told me that she was willing to go, that she was talking about paying for it, but wanted help from Robbie if he would help her with the expenses. And I never had a conversation with Melissa's mother until after they came back.
So, but she told you that she couldn't afford to go herself.
She said that they both couldn't. This was when they were both talking about
You mean she and her
going.
boyfriend? But
Yes.
she said to you that they both couldn't afford to go.
Right.
So the conversation that you had with this young lady was, I don't have the money to go.
She had part of the money for the two of them. So if it was just going to be the one, it wouldn't cost as much because there wouldn't be two.
Well, that's what you assumed.
That's what she said, was that they both could not afford to go.
She said to you, we both can't afford to go, and therefore you assumed that when Michael said he wasn't going, that she would have the money.
Judge Judy will be right back.
Because this is more of a vacation, not just like a chaperone, not like she had to, sit at home all day and mind a little girl.
Your comments are not particularly relevant. Whether she stayed with Jamie all the time as a chaperone or just accompanied her there because her mother felt more comfortable is not really the issue.
Barbara Pepper's daughter wanted to see her boyfriend Robbie graduate out of state. Mom said okay if Melissa Barrett acted as chaperone, but who would pay for Melissa's trip?
You're the mother.
Yes, I am.
Did you have a conversation? Let's talk about with Jamie. Did you have a conversation with Jamie about these air tickets?
Yes, I did. She was over at our house one afternoon, and they were talking about the trip. And I questioned her as far as the finances were concerned because I knew Missy or I, neither one could afford the trip. So,
So, well, what did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
Well, I just asked her. I says, "Are you sure that you're paying for this trip?" And she said, "Yeah, my mom will take care of everything as far as the transportation, food, and lodging are concerned."
When did you have that conversation with her?
That was about probably a week and a half, 2 weeks before the trip.
You wanted to say something? You're Robbie.
Yes. I've known Melissa the longest out of everyone. I've seen her for about 3 to 4 years. So we used to hang around at school and everything. So we were good friends at the time. I left and, as far as I was concerned, she wanted to see me as well. This is more of a vacation, not just like a chaperone, not like she had to, sit at home all day and mind a little girl.
Well, wasn't
This
suggesting
isn't a
that's
babysitting trip. It's
that's not-
something for
that's-
fun for her.
Listen,
And she knew that.
Don't try to talk over me. It's very rude. Your comments are not particularly relevant. Whether she stayed with Jamie all the time as a chaperone or just accompanied her there because her mother felt more comfortable is not really the issue. The issue is whether your girlfriend, in order to get to go to see you graduate and spend these, 3 days, 2 or 3 days with you, suckered her mother in by giving her mother the impression that the tickets were going to get paid back. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand?
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Stay tuned. Barbara Pepper's daughter wanted to see her boyfriend Robbie graduate out of state. Mom said okay if Melissa Barrett acted as chaperone, but who would pay for Melissa's trip?
Sometimes you have to bring to a lawsuit common sense and life's history, and also what smells, feels right. Mrs. Pepper, your daughter wanted to go to her boyfriend's graduation. The only way she could go was to get a suitable person to go with her. She certainly didn't want her mother going with her down to this Air Force graduation. No way. 16-year-olds don't like to be seen with their mother in a local 7-Eleven, right? No less at a party function. So that she got this young lady, and all the conversations that you had, all the real conversations that you had about repayment of these tickets came through your daughter. Now, Melissa's mother is here, and I believe her when she said that she had a conversation with your daughter. And in that conversation, your daughter assured her that no question, you know, that the trip would be taken care of. Listen to me, Mrs. Pepper. My sense of this case is that you got suckered in by your daughter. That's my sense of the case. That she wanted to go on the trip and was going to say anything that was necessary to get to go with one of her own contemporaries. So you didn't have an agreement with her, and you didn't have an agreement with her mother. You had an agreement through your daughter. Don't sue her. Get your daughter to pay for both tickets. This lawsuit is dismissed.
If I so excuse, you may step out, please.
There were so many lies. From the time they got back, all I heard was how much money Jamie owed them, and the amount changed every time we spoke to her.
She's totally a liar. I've seen how she's acted in other incidents.
And she'd like her boots back, please. Her brown ones.
Oh, she's not going to get anything back.
Of course not.
I'm just happy this is all over with. I can go home. No more worries about any prank telephone calls. It's all over, and I don't have to speak to him again.
It's not over.
And now, the next case.
All parties on DeFady versus Bagan. Step forward, please.
Kathy DeFady says she loaned 2 jet skis to Judith Bagan a year ago and never got them back. Judith says she stored them in her garage as a favor.
Ms. DeFady, you claim that you lent the defendant 2 jet skis. She was going on vacation. She's refused to return them.
Correct.
When did this happen?
This happened last May, 1996, approximately.
Where was she going on vacation?
Lake Havasu. For a weekend, Lake Havasu.
Where is that?
I think it's in Arizona.
And what were you doing with 2 jet skis?
I worked 2 jobs to get 2 jet skis, and it was one of my toys for playing. I used to ride 2 jet skis. I had competition. My 550 was a competition one.
And you were friends?
We met in paralegal school. We were classmates. We went out a couple times for dinner, went shopping a couple times. I thought we were friends.
Did you ask her back for the jet skis?
I've asked her many times for the jet skis back. I have a phone log of 22 conversations of no response sometimes, and setups of trying to go to her house to pick them up. I have 4 signed affidavits saying that.
Don't tell me what your affidavits
Okay, we
say.
went to the court. We went to her house after we had verbally on the phone tried to set up time, place, everything. She was never there when we specified the times and place.
Okay. Now, you say in your answer that you never borrowed the jet skis. She stored them at your house.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, tell me how that came about.
Okay. We were going to school together, and also her ex-boyfriend her boyfriend at the time was going to school with us also. So they were going through a nasty breakup. He left her for another girl, and so she was trying to get him back. So now they were moving to Florida. So she didn't want him taking the jet skis with him to Florida because they were opening up some kind of sports thing in Florida. So she said, Judy, you know, I felt really bad for her because I know how men can be sometimes. So she said, Judy, can I store my jet skis there because I don't want to leave them in the apartment because I don't want him to take them with him to Florida. So I said, sure, you know. So I went, she told me where her jet skis were being stored at the time at another friend's house where both of them had dropped them off. Supposedly, that's what she told me. I've asked her several times to come to my house. She's never showed. I've even had my sister drop them off, take them to meet her at Marina Del Rey.
She says she's ready to give you back the skis.
We've gone to her house several times, July 13th.
Well, where are the skis now?
Yes.
I have them.
Where?
I have them outside.
Outside the courthouse?
Yes.
Judge Judy will be right back.
cannot go on the lake without current registration.
Right here.
That's 95. That's 95 on there. Look on the jet ski. They're not. Yeah, you're full there. How'd you get another set? Didn't you pay? No. You just registered in December because I ran them at the police station.
You ready to just turn them over to her now?
Well, I have a countersuit on her
for what?
For storage.
Did you ever make any agreement with her?
I told her I would keep it for 30 days. She told me to hold him for 30 days while she moved. She left me no future phone number. She moved. All she has is on a pager number. If you look on the court papers, it's only a pager number plus a mailbox, not a physical address where I can even drop off the jet skis.
Listen to me. In order to charge her for storage, you have to have an agreement that there is going to be a storage charge after the 30 days. Did you? Did you have an agreement as to what you were going to charge her for storing the skis at the end of 30 days?
No, I did not.
Then if you didn't have an agreement for storage, then you can't make up one now. Listen, you could take the jet skis and deposit them on her lawn, or you could put them outside.
She wouldn't give me an address.
After a period of time. What I'm telling you is you can't put together a contract in your own mind unless there is some meeting of the minds. A storage agreement, even if it's a verbal one, is a contract. It's an agreement. You can't say, I'm going to charge her $50 a month storage unless she agrees to $50 a month storage. You can't say that was an agreement. It was never an agreement. Look, the skis are outside. How long have they been in your garage?
Overnight, almost a year.
Almost a year.
Your
Is that right?
That's correct.
All right.
Your Honor.
What? I mean, you're wasting my time. I got cases to try today. She's got the skis outside. You want the skis?
I want the skis.
Very good. Bird, would you see to it that these skis are exchanged, please?
Sure will, Judge.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Please excuse you may step out.
Judge Judy will be right back.
Forward, please.
Meet John and Shannon, and Chris and Carissa. They all moved in together, just like the real world. But life became a circus.
Order. All rise. Judge, it's number 87 on the calendar in the matter of Hash, Larson versus Anderson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Bird, I think those eyeglasses are making you hostile.
No, Judge, I was always hostile.
All right. Looks to me from this complaint that there were two couples. Are you part of this couple? Step up here. You two couples decided to rent an apartment together? How old are you all?
Between 17 and 20.
Who's 17?
Right here.
Why did you two couples decide to live together?
Well, they were our friends, and we trusted them, so we didn't think, one little fight would, they'd move out and the day of rent was due.
Why were you leaving home at age 17?
Well, I've been living on my own since I was 16. I've had my own apartment since I was 16 years of age.
Do you work?
Oh, yeah. I had 2 jobs. I've always had 2 jobs, went to school. And
how old are you?
20.
And you?
I'm 18.
And how come you left home?
Things in the family, so it got hard, so I left.
And you, how old are you?
I'm 18.
You boyfriend and girlfriend, I assume?
Yeah.
And why did you move out of your house?
Same problem, family problems.
Well, it seems as if you took your problems with you to your new house.
Yeah.
So, how much was the rent on this apartment, and when did you move in?
The rent was $535. We moved in October 1st, 1996.
And how long did you live there?
We lived
together.
All together.
The
3
four
months.
of you.
3 months.
And how many months' rent did you two people pay?
We paid 2.
So you owe a month's rent? Right?
No, I don't think I do.
Why not?
Because of different circumstances that happened.
Well, tell me what they are. If you say you lived in the apartment for 3 months and you only paid 2 months' rent, my math isn't terrific, but
the last
that's at least a month.
that they lived there, we did not. We moved out. They said they left us a note on the door on the first, saying that they were moving out.
First of what?
Of December. No. December. And they're moving out the 1st of January or sooner. And her dad was the co-signer. And
whose dad was the co-signer?
Shannon's was the co-signer. And if they leave, there was no reason for us to stay.
Well, they were leaving. They were giving you notice that they were going to be leaving in 30
Well, we
days.
had to leave.
Listen to me. They were giving you notice that they were going to leave in 30 days.
But the note didn't say exactly 30 days. It said,
Yes, it did.
No, it did not.
It said what?
It said either the 1st or sooner. We didn't know when it was, and we didn't need to come to the apartment and then move out, and we had to move out. So we moved out first.
Plus, there was an incident that happened the night before that we didn't feel comfortable living there anymore.
Like what?
The reason is...
Just a second,
okay.
No, she's talking. Don't take over.
The night before, there was a big fight, and...
Right before you moved out, you mean?
The night, yeah. And there was a big fight, and we just wanted to leave and just get out of the situation, quit the arguing. So we wanted to leave and just get out for the night. And Shannon blocked the way for him getting out, and so my friend tried to come get him out of the apartment so he could come with us to cool off, and she hit him. And so
She hit your friend?
Yes.
That is not true.
Well, what happened, Shannon?
They moved in, a whole new couple, to this little 2-bedroom apartment. A whole nother couple. I finally said, you know, I'm working 2 jobs.
When did they move this new couple in?
November. They moved him in November. They moved. I finally told them December 1st.
Who was this other couple?
They're friends.
Where did they sleep?
On the floor in the front room.
How long did they stay there?
They stayed for about 2.5 weeks, almost 3. And I finally said, you know, it's time for you guys to go. And they blew up at me saying I had no right to tell them they had to leave.
She gave consent. So no one said anything after they were moved in?
I said for 2 days.
No one said anything while they were moved in?
Just a second.
I said for a couple of days, no longer. I said I can't afford them, and they can't afford them because they were never going to work. They always called in sick every other day.
Just a second. Sir, how... She says that she gave her consent to have your friends stay for a couple of days.
Friend got kicked out of her house, and she came to us, and I wasn't even going to offer for her to stay a couple nights because I knew how Shan felt. I said, you know, no, that probably wouldn't be a good idea. Shan's the one who brought it up. Yeah, you can stay here as long as you want, and Marvin can spend the night.
I said for a couple of days, Carissa.
So it continued on them spending the night, and it was fine. There was no complaints, and all of a sudden it was blown up. If she would have said something the second day,
I told them very nicely.
They would have left.
Very nicely. I said, you guys got to leave by tomorrow. I says, we can't afford you, plain and simple. You guys got to leave. The next day, they were still there when I got off work, working both of my jobs that same day. Got home, and they were still there. And they were sitting there saying, we need to have a group talk here. They cussed me out because I told them it was time to leave.
All right, listen to me. Children behaving. You know what this sounds to me like? This sounds to me like children trying to behave as adults. That's what it sounds like. You know, I don't know how many relationships you all have had, boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, but it seems to me when you commit to having somebody that you live with, you're supposed to act like adults. And it seems to me like all 4 of you have had certain troubles in your life as teenagers. Left home, you've been on your own since you're 16, 18. How long have you been on your own?
About 2 years.
So also, since you were 18 years old, nobody's gone to college? Anybody go to college? Shh. Anybody go to college? No.
I'm still in high school.
I don't know where all your families are. It all sounds very peculiar to me. It sounds as if you are trying to act like adults, but not quite hitting the mark.
Judge Judy will be right back.
When children play like children, you have to accept the responsibility for that. Somebody was going to get left holding the bag.
Meet John and Shannon, and Chris and Carissa. They all moved in together, just like the real world. But life became a circus.
You say in your answer, sir, that you paid the manager a certain amount of money for December.
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
We left a note saying that if there was any problems with us or with the money, go ahead and take it out of our half of the deposit that we did pay. I've got proof that we paid it, and I've got different bank statements saying that we paid it.
One half of the deposit was how much, sir?
$200.
And also we have proof that we did pay Shan's dad back in full for the first month's rent, and we have proof that we paid that.
Let me see the check.
It's right here.
And 3 of their checks did bounce.
Well, I assume that you would have brought proof of that. Do you have proof
I
of
don't
any
have
bounce?
it with me. Mom said it wasn't worth it because I wasn't suing
They
her. I
didn't.
was suing
I
him.
went to the bank and I checked. They all went through.
And mine was a money order, so mine did not bounce.
Yes, it did.
Hers was a money order. How could it
Whatever.
bounce?
Listen to me. You have to bring proof. Proof is what you need.
Well,
Here.
see, I wasn't suing her. I'm suing him. I was going to sue her later because she kept telling everybody I was never on the lease. So you can't even try and sue
Well, I
me.
have $135 to Jerry Hash.
I should have
And that's the one that bounced.
It went through.
Yeah,
That and a
just a second.
$60 one bounced.
Just a second. I don't have any witnesses to the fact that that bounced. They're not your checks, right?
What?
They're not your checks.
No.
They went through.
You mean they were paid?
Yeah, they went. There was no problem with them going through.
And this one is for September of '96. I don't know what that is. $9.96. What is that? That's for $59. I don't know what that's for.
That was before we moved in together. John was short $50, so we paid $50, and they said they'd give $50 to his dad.
And then I have a check to the Green Apartments for $200.
That's our half of the deposit.
That's your half of the deposit.
Yep.
Okay. Now, so half of the deposit you lost.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now,
And we wrote a note to the manager saying that if there was any problems with money, go ahead and take our half of the deposit. And if we were getting down to it, they'd owe us $1 or something back.
okay, what do you
I have a paper here that says if you're not there for 6 months, you forfeit your whole deposit. It's right here. He even signed his initials right by it.
That's fine, but you were going to leave, according to your note, before 6 months was up, too.
I got that
But
note
now
too.
I owe $780 for cleaning the apartment and because we left early.
I got
owe
that
$780.
note right here that she left on the door.
Inside my
When did you
purse.
leave?
We left. We gave a notice December 6th, which I even have a note from
So
the
you
manager.
gave notice December 6th. When did you leave?
I left January 1st.
So you lived there for the month?
Yes, we did. I had to borrow money from my father.
You lived there for the month?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got the note right here, a copy of the note.
Yeah.
What she left on the door saying that
Oh,
she
let me
was
see it.
leaving.
Is this the note that you wrote?
I don't know.
What do you mean
We
you don't
have
know?
the original, too.
We've got the original. If you
What do
want
you
to
mean you
see
don't
it.
know? You want to show her the original that you have in there?
In the lease, it also says you are to give a 20-day notice before you move out. They didn't even give a day notice. We were at work when they moved out.
In the letter to the manager,
You
we
were there
mentioned...
when
And
you
here's
moved
from
out.
the manager right here.
Listen to me. Don't show me any letters. I don't take letters. This is is this the note
Here's
that you
the
sent?
original.
Hey, show it to her. Is that the note that you left?
Yes, it is.
All right. Can I see that and compare so I can compare the two? Well, this is a rather nasty note, Shannon. It says we are moving out on the 1st or before.
Mm-hmm.
But I still would have paid my rent. I never said
How do
in
they?
there.
How are they supposed to know that?
But how
Shannon?
was I supposed to know they weren't going to pay theirs?
Just a minute. How were
When
they
they
supposed to
said
know
they
that?
were gonna.
You know what the situation is? This situation is who's going to get stuck first. That's what it comes down to. Who's going to get stuck first? You leave them a note in violation of your lease,
Yes.
which says you're moving out on the 1st or before.
Mm-hmm.
That means that somebody's going to forfeit money under the lease. They decide, listen, somebody's going to get skunked in this deal.
See, I couldn't-
Just quiet. Somebody was going to get skunked in this deal. If it wasn't them, it was going to be you. They can't speculate because the last thing is, have a nice day. Not. Did you write that?
Yes, I did.
Well, so how were they supposed to know that you were going to do the right thing and give the right
We did
notices and anything else? When children play like children, you have to accept the responsibility for that. Somebody was going to get left holding the bag.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
December.
We had no place to go for that month. They moved out before us. My dad was a co-signer. My dad's so mad at me, he won't even talk to me anymore
Well,
because
then you have
of
to
these
start
people.
behaving yourself.
Meet John and Shannon, and Chris and Carissa. They all moved in together, just like the real world. But life became a circus.
They moved out first, so it wasn't them holding the bag. He did pay his $200 deposit, which covers half a month's rent in December when they weren't there. You, in fact, lived there for the entire month of December.
We had no place to go for that month. They moved out before us. My dad was a co-signer. My dad's so mad at me, he won't even talk to me anymore
Well,
because
then you
of
have
these
to start
people.
behaving yourself.
Because of the
then,
reason...
madam, you send, if you have a roommate and you don't feel as if you can live in the roommate situation, and I'm not saying that they did anything that was right. What I'm saying is, if you don't get along, then you sit down and you discuss it and you say,
we
we
tried
both...
doing that,
Hey,
and that's when we got in that big argument.
they could have stayed there. You move out on the 15th of December, and then they're stuck with the remainder of the lease, right? What they chose to do was to stick it to you first. So it sounds to me like you all deserved each other. This case is dismissed. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The problem was not with the two people moving in. It was the attitude and the atmosphere that was going around, and we felt it was unsafe, so we left.
They're way overboard. They don't know how to live on their own. They don't know how to manage their own money. They don't know how to do nothing.
It was just tense. You walk in there, and it was like someone had their hands around your neck.
Versus Lee, step forward, please.
Lois Meek says she was attacked by Josephine Lee when they got on a bus. Josephine says Lois punched her in the back for no reason.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is number 20 on the calendar in the matter of Meek versus Lee. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
How could two such lovely-looking ladies get involved in a cat fight like this? According to the complaint, you were both waiting for a bus, the same bus stop. You both boarded the bus, and that's where the stories change. So you're suing her for injuries. You want $1,412. She says that you injured her. She wants $373. Ms. Meek, let me hear the story.
Just went to the market buying my fruit for the week. 4 cantaloupes, 8 bananas. Had it in my tool bag, which I carry every week, with my backpack. Was waiting for the bus, sitting in the shelter. Heard a motor arriving, approaching, and I stepped out to the curb, saw the bus coming, and it stopped about 1.5 feet, 2 feet before me. Miss Lee was standing about 10 feet down the road. The bus stopped before me, very, very heavy. Picked my foot up and walked slowly to the bus. Attempting to step up, raising my knee, this woman comes running behind me and up my left side, knocking me off balance. And
This woman, you mean the defendant?
It's Miss Lee. Ran around the back of me, behind me, and up my left side, and cut me off, and then approached the bus driver. Showed her fare, paid her fare, walked down the aisle. The third horizontal seat behind the bus driver, she stopped in the aisle with her back to the aisle, resting her little cotton bag and a black leather purse, both small, on the chair, waiting for me to pass, feeling that she was watching me. I thought, I've got to put as much distance between this woman as possible. This is trouble. I walked to the rear of the bus, walked to the last seat, the long seat across the bus, and there are 2 vertical seats, 2 horizontal seats in front. I was turning around, going back into the seat on the right, and this woman comes walking down the aisle, walking very fast, staring at me, and I thought, uh-oh. So she approaches me, starts pushing me, and I'm warding her off with my fruit. Can you imagine? And pushing me and fell. The bus started and I fell. My fruit went down. I fell on the bus. She's standing up there. My fruit's down there, and I thought, oh, I bruised my cantaloupes. I was just sick about it. Thinking I bruised my fruit, my bananas, they're gone, they're mush. So I stood up as soon as I could, quickly as possible, and she started pulling my hair. Amazing. Pulling my hair. And with that, the bus, she jarred or something, pulled me back on the vertical seat. There are 2 vertical seats in the rear. She fell back, and I fell on top of her because she's pulling my hair. She wouldn't let go. When I fell, I braced my arm between us so as not to hit my head. get upset, I'm sorry. And with that, I braced my hand, my arm, so we wouldn't hit each other's head, and she bit my index finger. With that, there was the German. Well, everyone was instructed to leave the bus. The bus driver was saying, nobody, they're yelling to the bus driver. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to go back. When she ran around me, when I was walking down the stairs in the bus, I said, relax. I said, what's your hurry? There's a lot of seats. The bus is empty. And she, I guess that infuriated her. I don't know what happened.
Ms. Lee, let me hear your version of these events.
Okay, on February the 16th, 1996, I was approaching the bus stop, Park Presidio and Geary Street, and I noticed that there was a Caucasian woman and elderly gentleman standing by the bus stop sign, and the bus stop sign is 20 to 25 feet north of the bus shelter. And I had 2 shopping bags in my hand, and I was standing about 6 feet from the bus shelter. When the bus pulled up, and Anthony Chan, the bus driver, he pulled up to the bus shelter, and I headed toward the bus, and plaintiff just ran up behind me and started pushing and shoving me to try to get on the bus ahead of me. And at that point, I just ignored her. And then when I got on the bus, I paid my fare.
So who got on first?
I did. At no time was plaintiff ever in front of me.
So you got on the bus first?
Yes. So I got on the bus, I paid my fare, and she was behind me, and she just came up and punched me in the back. And I turned around to see who hit me, and she said, what's your hurry, honey? You get on the bus. And so I ignored her, and then I proceeded to the middle part of the bus, and just as I put my bags down, I was about to sit down, she came up behind me and punched me in the back a second time. And then she started to head toward the back of the bus, and I turned around, and I pushed her back and said, quit hitting me. And that's when she pushed me back, and it just went like this, back and forth. And then she couldn't wait, and then she finally started punching me and kicking me. And because she was so busy punching and kicking me that she didn't hang on to anything on the bus, I was still hanging on. And she fell to the floor. And then when I turned around, I tried to get up to try to head to the front of the bus to tell the bus driver to call the police on her. She jumped me from behind and started punching and kicking me from behind. And as if that wasn't enough, she ran up behind me and grabbed me from behind with scratches, and she dug her nails into my face and my right eye, and that's how I lost my contact lens. And by that time, the bus driver, but anyway, well, he can tell you.
You're the bus driver?
Yes.
Step up here, please. Would you tell me your name, sir?
Anthony Chen.
Did you know either one of these 2 ladies before this incident?
No, I never saw them in my life.
So tell me, to the best of your recollection, sir, what do you remember about that incident?
Somebody yelled that, oh, they fight in the park. So
was that the first you heard of them? Did you see them when they boarded the bus?
No, I didn't pay any attention because daily over hundreds passengers.
So you paid no attention until somebody said that there was fighting?
Right.
And then did you see anything?
Yes, I looked at the mirror quick, and I saw this lady, Lois Mick, punching Josephine in the back of the head.
Where were they standing at that time?
That time, in the rear part of the bus.
In the back of the bus?
In the back of the bus.
Not the middle of the bus?
No. No.
Sit down. I'd like to see your medical bills, please.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Did you pay this bill?
No.
Good, don't pay it. Who called an ambulance?
The bus.
Did you call an ambulance?
Yes.
Well, then you pay it.
Lois Meek says she was attacked by Josephine Lee when they got on a bus. Josephine says Lois punched her in the back for no reason.
An ambulance take you from the scene?
No, I took my fruit home and then went.
So what does the ambulance charge?
They charge for going, for the
What do you
call.
mean they charge for going?
For the call to the bus. For that
You
trip.
didn't use the ambulance?
They still charge you.
Don't pay them. I mean, they charged. Somebody called an ambulance, you didn't use them, and you think that you think you're responsible for this bill? Did you pay this bill?
No.
Good. Don't pay it. Who called an ambulance?
The bus.
Did you call an ambulance?
Yes.
Well, then you pay it. I mean, she called an ambulance. So who asked you to call the ambulance?
Well, my supervisor, my superior.
Don't let your supervisor pay it. Now let me see your bills. I'm curious to see them.
Okay.
Did the same ambulance treat you as treated her?
Yes.
They got some racket, so they billed both of you.
Yeah, separately, but we got billed, but it's still separately.
That's some good deal. Look, I have testimony from two ladies. Each of them tells me a very convincing story. Then I have testimony from a witness. The plaintiff tells me that this incident occurred in the back of the bus. Of that she is certain. The defendant tells me that this incident did not happen in the back of the bus, but happened in the middle of the bus. That the plaintiff came from the rear of the bus and assaulted her where she was standing. It's clear from the statement of the bus driver that this assault was taking place in the back of the bus, in the rear of the bus, which is totally consistent with what the plaintiff has indicated. So the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,412. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She chose me to run behind and push and shove, even with my hands full, so there was no way I could hit her back.
From what I saw, it was the other lady attacked this lady. What I saw from my rear view mirror. And she had two hands with the bag, and she couldn't defend herself. The other lady attacked her.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Siegler versus Sorensen. Step forward, please.
Stephanie Siegler wanted a color change from hairstylist Karen Sorensen, but Stephanie says the change was for the worse, and her hairdresser knows it.
Ms. Siegler, you're suing the defendant for $3,000 about because you say she ruined your hair.
Yes.
Tell me.
Okay.
Hair looks nice.
Thank you. On April 13th, 1996, I called, or actually I had an appointment at Sheer Pizzazz in Cypress, California with Karen Sorensen. Actually, she was going to do my friend Jennifer as well. She was there. And
Did your friend come with you?
She came with me. She was going to cut her hair, I guess, while I was processing. I just wanted a light weave, golden color, not necessarily white. I have pictures here of what my hair looked like before and after. And she started to do my hair. She was extremely rough with me. At one point, when she realized my hair was turning bright orange, she was obviously getting exasperated. And
so what color did your hair turn?
Like a calico cat. The first two pictures are of me prior to, one I apologize is from like October, but I just couldn't find any that were, the other one's from February, which is only a couple months prior. And those were the pictures of what it looked like after.
Miss Sorensen, did you see these pictures?
Yes, I don't know if I saw those.
Well, let me show them to you.
Okay.
I'm not a maven on this because, of course, my hair is natural.
Judge Judy will be right back.
She gets underneath the hood, doesn't raise it, goes underneath it, gets out, and goes to talk to these people. On her way, I asked her, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm done." I said, "You are not."
Stephanie Siegler wanted a color change from hairstylist Karen Sorensen, but Stephanie says the change was for the worse, and her hairdresser knows it.
So tell me what happened to her hair.
Okay, basically what happened was I put a tint on her hair. I have the color where she picked it out from a picture. It was called beige blonde. She was put under the dryer. I set the dryer for 15 minutes. During that time, 10 minutes into it, some friends of hers walked in, a guy and a girl. I didn't know who they were. At the time, I was trimming the back of her girlfriend's hair, which took me approximately 20 minutes to do. It was just a shaping. She has long hair. Anyway, during that time, it was about 10 minutes into it, and these people walked in, and I went, my station is the first station, right next to the desk. So I went to greet them. Before I could, out of the corner of my eye, She is only 7 feet from me at the most, and I can see her in my mirror. She gets underneath the hood, doesn't raise it, goes underneath it, gets out, and goes to talk to these people. On her way, I asked her, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm done." I said, "You are not." And she just dismissed me, turned her head, and went to talk to her friends.
Listen, you went and had your hair fixed, is that right?
Absolutely.
All right. Who fixed your hair?
Tina Totten of Beauty
Tina!
Gallery in Colton.
Step up. This happened not too long ago. You took a look at this head. Yes. You fixed it.
Yes.
How long did it take you to fix it?
5 hours.
And about when did you fix it? What month? In April?
Yes, I fixed it the day after it happened.
You had a day of distress because you went to her the day afterwards. Is that right?
Big time distress. I was on my way to Seattle and Montana the following week. I'm an outside salesperson in a professional career. There was no way.
Yeah, but you had your hair fixed the next day. According to her, you had your hair fixed the same day. So whether you were going out of town the next week on business doesn't make any difference.
Well, it faded while I was gone.
Well, she just told me that was natural.
Yeah.
She said it's natural, so you had to come back in 3 weeks. Right. Whether she had done you the hair or not, it's a natural process that it fades. Is that right?
For the most part.
For the most part. All right.
Damage.
So, she didn't do a good job. You're not going to go back to her again.
That's true.
Judge Judy will be right back.
No way are you out $400. And let us assume that you were out $400. Then how dare you file a lawsuit for $3,000? That's my question. That's what I want people to start to think about. So where do you get $3,000 from?
Well,
that you're suing her for?
Okay. $175 was the first hair restoration, if you'd like me to break it down.
No, $175 was the first hair restoration that you paid to this witness. Is that right?
$35 for the second. $40.
No, listen to me. You paid so far $175 to have your hair done. Did you charge her any extra because of the additional work that you had to do?
Yes, I did.
How much extra?
$35.
$35 extra.
Right.
For the work that you had to do to rectify it. Right. Okay, go ahead. Let me
I also have hair conditioner at $40.22, another hair conditioner at $22.82. These are all conditioners that I had to use to get a comb through my hair. $4 for medication. I have a receipt here from urgent care. I wound up in urgent care. This happened on a Saturday with Karen. The following Monday, the whole time I was with her, she had a real hard time shampooing my hair and all that because I got wry neck from being in the shampoo bowl so long. And luckily I have insurance. All I'm asking for is the $4 for the Motrin and the Flex Roll.
Fine. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $39. That's all. And I break that down as follows. It cost you an extra $35 because you had your hair done by somebody else, and she said she charged an extra $35 to do it. I mean, your initial request, madam, of $3,000 suggests to me that you believe that this is like an open faucet for money. She did your hair, and you weren't satisfied. There's no question that whatever process you did, whosever fault it was really not good. You are out of pocket $35.
$400.
No way. No way are you out $400. And let us assume that you are out $400. Then how dare you file a lawsuit for $3,000? That's my question. That's what I want people to start to think about. Not abusing the courts.
Well, the $2,500 was for the fact that I had to go to Montana and Seattle with my hair still messed up.
That's not true. She said you came to her the next day.
But then it faded.
She just testified, just listen to me, that is a normal thing that happens. The fading is a normal process.
Weave.
Listen to me.
If her hair was done properly the first time, she wouldn't have had to go through all this.
Listen to me. You just told me that is a normal... Don't backtrack now. I just asked you whether that was normal. You said it was normal for there to be some fading.
Right.
Most of the time.
Correction
well,
color.
that's it. It's normal that they... What I'm suggesting is that you're not supposed to abuse the courts. The courts are here to give you assistance on legitimate amounts of money that are owed from one person to another, or when you think you have a legitimate complaint. I would suggest you put your hand down because you're coming out on top on this thing.
It wouldn't have cost me $175 to get it fixed. It would have cost me $80 to get it done correctly the first time.
Listen to me. You didn't pay her.
That's true.
Fine. You paid her. Right?
$175.
That's what she charges. I hate to tell you what my beautician charges. That's all. Go home.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
Judge Judy will be right.
Đây là một cái sản phẩm không thể thiếu trong các cái món ăn hàng ngày của chúng ta. Và để các món ăn được đậm vị, thơm, ngon thì cái hạt nêm Chinsu được chiết xuất 100% từ xương và thịt tươi thì là một cái gia vị không thể thiếu trong các món ăn hàng ngày của chúng ta. Và cái nguyên liệu chính để tạo nên cái hạt nêm Chinsu này thì gồm có thành phần là muối, chất điều vị 621, 635, gồm có đường, tinh bột khoai mì, matodicin, xương hầm cố đặc 20,2 gram trên 1 cân. Thành phần gồm có nước mắm, dầu cọ, hương thịt, giọng tự nhiên tổng hợp, bột tôm, bột khô, bột tỏi, bột hành tây, tỏi, hành tím, hương liệu tổng hợp, chất tạo ngọt, axit sulfam, kali tổng hợp, chiết xuất trái chanh chanh, disilo và hỗn hợp amino acid. Và sản phẩm hạt nêm Chinsu được chiết xuất và được làm ngọt từ xương và được mùi thơm từ thịt, là một trong những dòng hạt nêm cực kỳ là tốt cho sức khỏe của chúng ta. Và để được cái món ăn được lên một cái đỉnh cao, một cái tầm mới ngon và được thơm hơn thì dòng hạt nêm Chinsu là một trong những cái dòng hạt nêm mà chúng ta không nên bỏ qua. Đối với các món canh, xào và món ướp, món nướng thì hạt nêm Chinsu là một trong những cái dòng hạt nêm có thể cung cấp được những cái vị thơm ngon cho món ăn của chúng ta. Và sự kết hợp tinh túy giữa vị ngọt thanh tự nhiên từ xương hầm cố đặc và đậm thơm ngon từ thịt cho các món canh, kho, xào được ngọt tự nhiên và được tròn vị ngon của món ăn. Đó, một trong những dòng hạt nêm mà chúng ta đặc biệt là các chị em nội trợ không thể bỏ qua.